Today I want to say a few things about slide gloves. These are my slide gloves. I don't know if you can tell by how pristine they still are, but I don't tend to use my slide gloves for sliding that much. I will still wear them a lot, but I tend to use them mostly when I fall down. These are my falling down gloves. But whether you're using them for falling or for sliding, you still want to have good, well-made, well-designed gloves. So I think there's a few things we can learn here. So the reason I never got into sliding was partially because of the fact that, so back in the day, all of the slide gloves that we made had finger pucks. And the year that I started longboarding, I broke my hand pretty significantly. So if you look at my pinky knuckle on my left hand, you can see I've got a nice arch, a nice continuous curve across the top of all my knuckles. And if you look at my left hand, or my right hand, you can see I don't really have much of a knuckle on my pinky here. It's kind of missing. So my whole joint there has kind of been crushed, and if I wear a glove, especially a glove with a finger puck that binds my pinky, it used to be really bad to just wear gloves for any length of time. Thankfully now, for whatever reason, through the magic of biology, it doesn't bother me at all anymore. Isn't that great? But yeah, so I never got into sliding, and I never really learned to slide until I'd been longboarding for a really long time and was no longer that interested in it. But I still have slide gloves. So these are the older pair, and they've got some interesting things going on. Now, as janky as these look, these are actually the gloves we were making after Riley, I think, had been sliding and using slide gloves for close to, it was probably more than 4 years. And then this is when we were still working a lot with the engineer who ended up designing the Other Planet trucks. And he had been longboarding with gloves for a very long time. And this is kind of the solution that we came up with for the slide glove on the cheap. It's very cheap. So the idea with these gloves is you'd make a whole lot of them. I think the last time we did a run of gloves, we made a dozen gloves all at once. When the glove wears out, you already have another pair made, and it doesn't really matter. But here's what made them cheap. What made them cheap was the fact that it was a really cheap Walmart work glove that you could buy by the box, and that was really good. Although the leather is actually a really good material. If you can get the same type of leather in a form factor closer to this style, that would be the legit way to go, I think. Here you can see we only used 1/4 inch of plastic. This is UHMW. We also had Delrin gloves, but that was only for the hardcore that didn't want to wear out their gloves at all. Since I don't slide very much, I just settled for the UHMW. We didn't use plastic on the finger pucks. We saved money there. You don't need plastic on the fingers because you don't put a lot of weight on your fingers. If you have a really thin plastic puck, you can't just have, basically nothing holding your hand away from the pavement unless you're really good. And so what we had was a 3/4 inch piece of wood that would hold the thin piece of plastic away from the glove and your hand away from the pavement. And this would allow you to use the full depth of plastic without getting your hands scraping on the cement. And it would also allow you to have a really light glove without having a huge weight of plastic. So that was the main money-saving feature of these gloves. So they were actually stupidly cheap to make. And they did work really well because the important thing is it's got a big puck with a high-quality plastic that's not going to wear out, UHMW or Delrin, and then that puck is placed at a really good spot. So these were actually, despite their looks, despite their cheapness, they actually performed really well. On to the next era. So this is what we have. This is what I've been using now, which I got to make a pair for Riley still, but this is what I've got. And you can see we've abandoned the finger pucks. And in fact, it's really great because the puck is now just a little smaller and just a little lower and you can close your hand into a fist around the puck. We now have so that instead of the puck being permanently attached, it is Velcroed with industrial Velcro. And that's a good thing because it allows us to switch out pucks, because we are still doing the thing where you have a thin plastic sheet over a piece of wood. So, but there's something special here going on. First off, you might notice it's wedged. This is not a parallel puck. We made the observation that pucks tend to wear the most near the palm, near the wrist, I mean. And even moving the puck further down didn't completely solve that. And so we decided to change the angle that the puck sits at. So in order to do that, you have to have a block for the plastic to sit on, or you have to have a big chunk of plastic that you then cut a big scrap away from and waste a lot of plastic and money. So that's really cool. But what's also cool about it is the fact that this isn't plywood anymore. This is ultra lightweight MDF. So it's like a wood foam thing. It's a really weird material. It's like a really dense, rigid foam. And it makes it so this puck is really lightweight. And it makes it so these gloves are really lightweight. So we've got these really, really lightweight gloves. So we have this puck, and what it does is it holds your hand up away from the pavement, just like this one does. But it also lets your hand be a little closer to the pavement, because really the only part of your hand that you need to be held up is your fingertips, because to help keep your fingertips from dragging. Because I mean your wrist isn't going to drag, and then your thumb, well, that's easy to keep out of the way usually, but now you've even got to stop for your thumb to keep your thumb from being dragged under. So that's the new puck. It's really cool. But what I found that's really interesting is when I put it on the glove, you'd think you'd probably want it so that you want the thin part at the palm and the thick part at the top, like this. So your hand's down low, your palm's low, and your knuckles are higher, and you'd think that would be the posture you want. But what I found is actually you want this rotated around like that several degrees, and the high spot is actually right around here, which is really interesting. That seemed to work a lot better. The other thing I've done with the gloves, or I've done to this one so far, but so here you can actually see the comparison. On this glove, it has the cuff, right? And the cuff comes here and it just has the split on the side. The cuffs on these gloves are so flimsy, unlike these ones which were reinforced with some sort of fiber inside. They're pretty rigid. These ones, however, are so soft they can just barely need to touch the pavement, and they can get dragged right under and snag you up pretty good. So after that had happened once, I decided to modify the cuff on my right hand, and what I did is I cut away this section here from the seam there to that portion here, and I just cut it away, and I left the I left the trimming. And what I did is after I cut it away, I just sewed the trimming in the new spot, and so now it still looks fine. But I've got a nice gap there, so there's nothing that's going to be dragged into the puck anymore. So like that. Well, a little lower, right there. So that's the innovation of this particular glove. So I've still got to do that to this one. I'm really happy with these pucks. I'm really happy with the Velcro. It's just industrial Velcro. It sticks to the lightweight MDF on the hook side decently well. And on the loop side, this black palm material of the glove actually works, really well for just the Velcro adhesive to stick to. But I decided to glue it, to sew it down anyway, just with really rough, big stitches, like 2 stitches an inch. That's mostly for this side here, where it's no longer on the palm material. It would begin to peel up, because it doesn't stick to the orange stuff nearly as well. So, and you can see as well, it's under more stress there, because that is where it would normally be curling around the hand. So, but once you put the puck on and Velcro it down, yeah, so you see how it would pull up, and you would see how it could pull the Velcro off the glove from that point. Now that it's sewn, that shouldn't be a problem anymore. So, really like these gloves. I miss the finger pucks a little bit sometimes, but for the most part, I really don't. The one drawback that I found is that because the puck is raised off, when I go to hold the board, even though I can close my hand wants to close like that, and the puck is tall enough that the board doesn't really fit comfortably in my hand. But if I had a really thin puck, I'd be able to just grab stuff a lot more comfortably. But if it bugs me that much and I'm carrying stuff for a while, I can just take the puck off and put it in my pocket, and I can grip my board and carry it in complete comfort. So there we go. Perhaps next time I will invest in a little bit better gloves still. But you know, I really like these. I don't think you'll really get better than this, because being gardening gloves, they've got this nice mesh on the back, which makes them breathe really, really well. Which is the one thing that the leather gloves really did not do very well at all. So there we go. There's my slide gloves. Longboard Technology, over and out.